What's up? Whoever is so bored they want to watch. Tonight, we'll address real quick. Nick DeVita, USTA, finally made a move. He filed an immediate appeal, and that's what we're waiting for. According to the USTA bylaws, with an emergency appeal such as the one that he filed into his district, which it was again led by SRIF and backed by the United States Trotting Association. He will be granted a hearing for his appeal within 30 days of him requesting the appeal. We'll see what happens. You all know the rest. And if you don't know the rest, I don't know what to tell you. If you're in harness racing and you don't know the rest, it's part of the problem. So I've been wanting to do this. And now with things that we've got a good solid year in this year. And our haters are furious, absolutely furious. And you'll notice that if you, like me, I read the room and I roam around, even to that other chat forum, you'll only find the haters running their mouths anonymously because they're worried. They can't, there's no avoiding the fact of what's happening right now. For the first time, we're seeing the registry, USTA, doing something. And none of this has started last week. This SRIF unit has actually been doing their job. One of the investigators has a very impressive resume when it comes to being an investigator. I'm not sure about the other one. I don't get involved. I don't ask too many questions about it, as long as they're doing something. So, how the hell did this all happen? And I said it to someone this morning, and that's what made me say, you know what, let me do this live stream tonight. If anybody, and I've said it before, but I want guys like Jeff Gillis, Howard Taylor, Nick DeVita, anyone else that's being questioned right now as a result of anything I've put out there, take that up with Steve Jones, Goshen Historic Tract, Cameo Hill Farm. You know who he is. Because that's how it started. And I've been told so many times, oh, he's just angry. He was a failed horseman. He's sour grapes. It's all about revenge. Technically, at the beginning, it was. I had no ambition for doing this. I was unaware of all of this shit. I minded my own business, but I made a mistake my last go-round when I had those 3 horses over at Goshen, and the place was a sheet of friggin' ice, and I couldn't take it anymore, and I started getting angry. What are you going to do about it? Are you at least going to plow? Are you not going to let it melt? This is going to, I'm against salt around horses. But if you get everything off, I'm not talking about the racetrack, I'm talking about the grounds, and not being able to unload a horse or not being able to find a place to hook a horse. And this was everybody. But I was the first one and only one to say something. And I would actually stop there. I believe they call him facility manager and go, what are you doing? Oh, I ain't got time for this. Then why are you here? I know what the job entails. I did it at training centers. Snows, you get it off. Don't let it melt. Ice, nothing you can do about that. Rain, freezing, if it's the driveways and you didn't put anything down. And we were handed 5-gallon buckets of salt. And that's how that happened. But what's funny is last week, I go in a quick stop a lot of mornings, get my coffee, bacon, egg, and cheese once in a while, And if I'm in there between 7 and 7:30, I bump into this same individual who I've been very cordial with. I said, I'm not going to lower myself. Hey, how you doing? Whatever. A couple of times until this last time, because it's the first time this past last week. I walk in and he's leaning up against the ice cream freezer. And I hadn't had this yet since the last time I saw him. And I read it. And I walked by and I go, really, Ed? Harassment via social media? And I said that to him and he's, what are you talking about? And I said, come on, dude. I said, I foiled the trespass order. And then he went dead silent. And I don't care. That's long gone, but they can't even be accountable, responsible. You did what you did. You cried. You got the board. But then I read it, and I'm like, nobody can be a man or an adult face to face. It says the victim, his name. It says the narrative. Click in the station to report harassment via social media. But to my face, he doesn't know anything about it. What's done is done. I'm going to have to wait for the entire board and everyone to be flushed out of there before I'm ever allowed into Goshen Historic Track for complaining about ice and the track too. How dare I? The false accusations that went around that I didn't pay my rent and that Goshen Historic Track had to send me, Mark Ford and Steve Jones, Linda over there, that in fact I was not renting the stalls, my owner was and paid. So that the nonsense that continued afterwards, and this is what I want to get into and what leads to here. So, and I'll never forget, it started with that night, that afternoon, I called up Mark up the street, who I've never had a problem with up until then, and he didn't have stalls. Okay, whatever. So I gave up. As time went by, I started doing other things, working in town, doing contract work. But I was pissed. And was it revenge driven at that time? Well, hell yeah, it was. I still couldn't understand why I, who had never done a damn thing wrong in the industry, ever, never hurt a horse, never all the above. Never hurt anyone, all the bullshit lies about owing money, all lies. Why? A couple of people over Goshen said you can't get too vocal because they get pissed off. And I didn't understand it. Long story short, as we find out later, nobody wants anybody ruffling feathers in the business. They don't want attention drawn to themselves. And I still didn't understand why. I had called Russell Williams and left a message. Like a week or two later, phone rings. He calls me back, and I'll never forget it. I was over at the bagel place and introduced myself. I told him what's going on. I said, hey, you know, of course. And it was fine. It was okay until I got to the point where I was defending myself. He said, well, you want me to, what is there that I can do? I said, well, can you vouch for me as just a friggin' horseman that's never done anything wrong? I didn't understand at that point again, the hierarchy, and that USTA has nothing to do with anything over here. I was looking for a phone call. I just wanted to get back in, maybe go to riding. I gave up on getting my horses back. That ship had sailed. But when I said, it started to get heated, and I said, so you're telling me you don't give a shit about these horses, do you? And that's when he said to me, you're not going to get in my effing face, and hung up. And that I was blown away. And then I started this thing, meaning back then, what was it? What did I call it? Harness Racing Revolution, Harness Racing Exposed. And I said, I got to start digging. And I did. And I was finding out little drips and drabs and stuff like that. And then I got a phone call, an anonymous phone call from someone who over time connected me with people that I still speak with every day, who had intimate knowledge of everything that was going on the inside, fishmen, everything. And that's how I started to learn. And they were teaching me, obtaining the information, sending me some information. Here's all the when it came to the trials. Here's what really happened. Here's the information that wasn't released or that was released and is available to the public, but do you see it anywhere in the industry? And then I started digging, and that's what kind of led to where we are today. And I crossed, and then I started crossing paths with other people who I want to call them victims, whatever, good people who made the mistake of speaking out and ended up paying a price for it. Good people. And then I was at that point because I know the difference between myself and anyone else in that position was I have nothing to lose because I've already taken myself out of the game. These people are still in it. I didn't know just how much people were being threatened and coerced and manipulated um, until it started to happen to me. And then I realized I realized they have no effect on me. It only fueled me. So it went from being angry and vengeful to motivated and wait a minute, I might be able to do some good here because they have no power on me. They can't scare me. They've tried in every way. Start with the Ray and Mark attack on Dave Yarrick. UST Director, SBOINJ President Mark Ford, and USTA Director over here, District 8, Ray Schnitker. And this was after I had some horses I not rescued, they were rescues, were given to me to rehab to be rehomed. I didn't want any part of the rescue thing. One horse I took that I called mine was sent to me because the person who had him couldn't handle his issues. So as time goes on, first it started, I'll never forget, David stopped up here. If people don't know this story, we're out in the field with the horses. He had his horse, Now Land Nathan, with me. And the phone rang. It was Mark Ford. And he's got him on speakerphone. Long story short, it's Ford going off about that don't stay involved with me. You're giving him credibility. I'm going to take your horse. I'll be over there with a truck and trailer right now. This is Mark Ford calling a man who at the time was just involved with the amateur series at the Meadowlands and had a $900 rescue horse that he used to have, that he reached in, grabbed him, tried to home him. The horse was gone. Hurt a little girl, I believe, or with the rider. No, that was later. Just couldn't be homed. He wasn't ready. He'd been in a pen. He was a mess. It got to his head. I took him, just taking the time. We're not bothering nobody. And at that time, while we're standing there talking, and after we hung up, he says, can you believe this? He says, this isn't the first time. That chased him through the paddock at the Meadowlands where he was being confronted. But it got too hot when I started to talk and doing these live streams back then from the farm where I was living, working, and had built a nice little barn that I thought I could turn into something. Never happened because they didn't let it happen. And I get a call one night that Dave Yarrick was just attacked in the paddock, the Meadowlands. I think you all know the story. Long story short is Ray and Mark cornered him by himself in the hallway going to the men's locker room. Got him up against the wall. One thing led to another. One's holding him, other one's Mark was more of the aggressor. Bryce Cody and I think it was Simon Spicer broke it up. The point was, in the testimony when the NJRC investigated it, which turned out to be just 3 $500 fines, they included fining the victim after what happened, because the chatter that night was, you gave that effing Petrelli a horse and you're paying him? This was from Mark Ford. He actually said in the testimony to, I think it was Salerno was the presiding judge at the time, that for the reasons of Petrelli doing these live streams, he owes money, financial something. I didn't print it out this time, or I don't have it. It's all over our group page. That I wasn't paying my bills, and that Dave Yarrick was giving me money. He actually said that. Now, in the real world, we all know what that is. That's coercion. I don't. You could throw in defamation, libel, slander. He's affected my possible income, trying to discredit me, which credibility was the word he kept using because he did not want me gaining any traction on what I'm doing now. We all see what's happened since. Didn't work, Mark. And I know you've been getting some phone calls. Not from me. There were anonymous calls to the people that owned the farm where I was living, that things were going to happen. Credibility. Even tried to friend my daughter on Facebook. And at the time that was 2023. She was 17 at the end of, she hadn't turned 18 yet. Either way, one thing you'll notice, I've never brought up certain individuals. But if you push me to the point of where I did bring up me being called to his home, which had I known why, I never would have did it. Not going to repeat it again. He knows the truth. He knows who had me go there. And suddenly those people ducked because the one person in particular, a former friend of mine, has pushing close to $1 million a year in earnings between driving and owning at risk. Totally different story. Fast forward to I still was learning, putting stuff out there, doing live streams that I would find out that I was planting seeds with certain information 2 years ago that this spring would come back, and all of a sudden it was the forefront and the reason for things that were suddenly happening. Then the Bordeaux thing in the middle of it changed. And I say it changed everything because it took something that would never have happened had a whistleblower not contacted me. And I took what he told me, ran with it, and passed it off to the right people, which was a call coming in saying a horse was beaten to almost to near death, and then a veterinarian had to come that night. Blah blah blah. Horse was put down because of what he did to the horse, and they buried him before the owner was even able to get home, who was racing at Yonkers Raceway. We all know the story. This is public knowledge. Fred Bordeaux is now in state prison for 2 to 6 years, concurrent with another assault charge, 2 to 6 years, and is paying dearly for what he did to that horse. Finish line. Had I not gotten the call, nobody knows this. He's still doing what he was doing, whatever. I didn't know the guy, kid. I learned more about him, but he would never have been made accountable for what he did to the horse and to the person that he was assaulting. We were able to not only get the right information, but a Samaritan reached out who paid for the exhumation, shipping finish line to Cornell, the necropsy, and after that, Holly Schoonmaker, senior investigator, New York State Police, did an amazing job. And we were able to take something that never was going to see the light of day, and one person made one phone call to me, and next thing we got a guy who I just saw a couple of weeks ago over here when he was being sentenced for the assault charge, in shackles and a green suit, did it to himself, and he got busted. That made me feel like I'm finally doing something that mattered. People can think whatever they want of me. It happened. And I still can't sometimes believe that it went from start to finish the way it did. And that helped me with my credibility. Something Mr. Ford was, for some reason, was in fear of. And when he was contacting our mutual friend, my former friend, and saying, asking what, about me, what's going, you see what he's doing now, you see what he's saying, and then they wouldn't get into a scuffle, but rather than ride the middle, it turns out my friend, and had to, understandably, had to lean to his side. But he told me that he told him one night, stop asking me. I don't talk to him about it. I'm not involved in this, but don't underestimate him. He may come across as an idiot, me, but he won't stop. And he knows what he's doing. That was back then. The one prop my buddy gave me. Then comes the night that I got the wiretap audio from Jeff Gillis talking to Seth Fishman. And when I heard that, I couldn't transcribe and record over to my audio software and then made a quick video of it and put it out there. Everyone was blown away. But the thing is, it's all out there. I keep reading people saying he's a rat. A rat would be as if I was involved with someone or I was privy to something criminal and like a coward, or someone that might be held accountable for then rats the other guy out to save their own ass. No, your industry already knew of all this stuff before I got to it and I exposed it. That's the difference. I took it seriously, and I had thought originally that it just came out or was just unsealed, just released to the public through Pacer. No. Not only did they have ample time to go through it, listen and read, they already did, and it was acknowledged. And literally every commission or governing body who saw it under the friggin' rug. They wanted nothing to do with this. And this is what I was saying 2 years ago when people were saying, where's the second wave? And I had enough information coming from people that said the second wave isn't going to look like the first one with arrests and indictments, arrests, trials, plea deals, convictions, and sentencing. No. The FBI and the government did all the work for you, the work that this industry has never done, policing and governing itself, because it's being policed and governed by the guys that got to be taken out of the game, the guys that are guilty. And the plan was that they were going to hand over all of this information to all the government commissions. People said, oh, when's the unredacted? There's the Fishman list. Obviously, not everybody bought the bad stuff. But there are enough on there that it would make a huge negative impact to the industry, let's say, had everybody been prosecuted. But it was left up to the governing bodies and the commissions to do their job, which was take what was in the evidence and this broke this rule, and penalize them that way. They didn't even want to do that because a lot of it was so damning to the point where now you see what some of the results were. So Gillis, I believe it was on a Tuesday night that I released that audio and on YouTube video, and it took off like wildfire. And then out of nowhere, Friday, we see, I don't know if it was Pollock Report, but it was in a harness racing outlet that reported that AGCO had moved and given him a 10-year suspension within 4 days. Done. And then the following day, on a Saturday, the USTA reciprocated and followed suit. That was what really, and again, I read some of these cowards who are obviously sympathetic and supporting and protecting the criminals anonymously, saying all you did was cut and paste. No, all I did was absorb and expose. Just a coincidence that I put it out there, somebody acts on it. Now, Howard Taylor, 2 summers ago, 3 summers ago, I put something out, and then there was one live stream I did that was specific to what happened with him. Things were going on in Indiana. That guy Tom Linkmeyer had gotten fired for investigating him, and that's what started me on Howard Taylor. I wasn't so much exposing at the time as I was reporting. But it turns out that things that I said in those live streams came full circle to this spring when I was handed the invoices that he supplied to the federal government. I can't tell you for sure, other than the understanding was that he felt as though that if he handed this over and whatever it was used for, and he didn't know about it, he didn't know what all this stuff was. He, like you've all heard him say in these review board hearings from when he tried to get renewed in Kentucky, Delaware. He had his part one already because he wasn't able to renew there. That he didn't know. He just paid the bills. His wife paid the bills his first wife, and he had no idea. All I knew was how much I paid for omeprazole. It's very Howard, if you're out there, it's a tough pill to swallow. I don't know what to say. I have nothing. Again, I don't know Howard Taylor. I may have seen him in passing, and that I knew who he was through the years as the go-to attorney for horsemen fighting whatever it is that they were dealing with. He's won some big races. He's a big owner in the game, but I didn't expect to see what I saw on those the who got list and his invoices. And then say, and a man who is as intelligent as he is, because he is a very successful attorney. He's not a dummy. I guess when you're you're being accused, you do what you would suggest to your clients, which is deny, and shut up, which is what he's been doing. But now that has morphed into, we know what happened to Howard. Kentucky basically told him, either pull your application back or you will most certainly be denied, which you don't want on your record, because then it's supposed to be reciprocity through the rest of the commissions, which we all see that that's not actually the case now anymore. Because I don't think they've ever expected anything like this to happen, especially to the people that it's happening to. These guys in the game, I will say, I'm not stupid. I've been around long enough to understand that they're no slouches. They have a lot of money. They are very successful in the game. But then you start to see, how is it right? No. If you think it's right, and if they are actually guilty of what is in black and white on what the federal government was able to dissect and put into evidence into these trials, whether he was prosecuted or not, it's still there. I've seen people say, "Well, he was exonerated and he was cleared by the government." Let's say that's true. Okay, they didn't prosecute you. You've been cleared of all wrongdoing. Okay, and you're free to go. You're free and clear. You're never going to hear from us again. But we're going to unseal your documents, and then there are rules, last time we all checked, in harness racing that were broken. That's what's actually happening here. This isn't criminal court. These are state commissions actually doing their job. So now this overlaps with Taylor, because if you all remember, I had an undoing where I recorded a conversation where I was brought into a 2-on-1 meeting in the grandstand at Meadowlands Racetrack, brought into the conference room, and I made sure, because I knew I was going to hear some bullshit and be ripped for the way I was doing things. And there's no secret here, by Bryce Cody and Jason Settlemore, who had reasons to do what they were doing, because I was unaware of how involved Gural and company were in the federal investigation. And it just so happened that I was wearing the recording device that I was using in the park that day, recording drivers of the carriage horses who were against the carriage horses. So I flipped it on. Bryce, I'll never forget it, says, "You can record." I threw my phone on the table, and we all know what happened there. But afterwards, a couple of days later, when I released that audio, I was called by a detective from New Jersey State Police that I had taken sensitive information and blah, blah, blah. Just bullshit. But the long story short is, the Meadowlands Racetrack hierarchy wanted me arrested. And I carried that for a long time. I did not speak or contact anyone at the Meadowlands from, that was early 2023, 2024? No, 2024. It was before I went before I went to Dreamland, whatever it was. It's a long time. And I did not speak to them again until August of this past summer. But I didn't pay too much attention to this defamation thing, Taylor versus Gural, and him being sued by Howard Taylor for defamation, and that Howard or his representation, for some reason, thought, and they're still trying to extract, whether I work or worked for Jeff Gural. That couldn't be further from the frickin' truth. I'm not loyal to anybody other than the truth. If Jeff and I have crucified Jeff and Jason and Bryson, thinking of the kid that had see bye-bye, Bryce, Cody, many times over what have you, what happened there, things that I said, I see at the racetrack, horses warming up, whatever. And how is this possible? But I was no fan of Mr. Gural or Jason Settlemore. I really ripped on Bryce to the point where I found his minor league baseball card, that when I saw him and I said to him, and he told me that he was drafted by the Red Sox. And how'd you find that card? And I just doing my research, because when you've threatened me for no good reason, I'm going to find out everything I can. So I was originally subpoenaed in September. No, I'm sorry. Was it August? Yeah. August, by Cozen O'Connor law firm, Tamar Wise, the attorney for Howard Taylor and Judith Taylor, to turn over documents, everything I had basically regarding him and blah, 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 blah. Okay. It was pretty broad. I put it on flash drives, contents describing whatever. If you were paying attention, you saw the video of me there where they had no idea I was coming, that the mailroom clerk actually took the what I was commanded to by the federal court. I did my part. I thought it was over. But no, it's not. Last week, I was served again. More documents, more specific. Subpoena to produce documents, information, or objects, or to permit inspection of premises in a civil action. Checks off just you are commanded to produce at the time, date, and place set forth below. Following documents, electronically stored information or objects, and to permit inspection, copying, testing, or sampling of the material. I mean, this is right out of the friggin' movies. You can take everything you want because everything I have is public. But it's a little more, they want to know where I got it, when I got it, emails, and that, which is fine. Absolutely fine. And it'll all be handed over. I don't care. And if if his attorney is trying to make a connection between myself and Jeff Garral or any of his team as to, am I being used? They even asks if I had any payments. And if you want to call a t-shirt, they bribed me with a Metal Ends Pace t-shirt. I've taken nothing because even if I was never offered anything, and I would never take it anyway because I'm not stupid, I am not going to be controlled or manipulated, of course, by anybody. I don't give a shit. I wouldn't give a shit if Garral or those guys on the other side said, listen, we're going to clear everything up with you. You'll have no problem with the USTA. Come in, you want to race here, you can, my tracks. No, I'm done. That's not going to happen. Nobody is going to somehow leverage me for their own purposes. I don't care if you're the guy on the wrong or the right. I'm only going to tell the truth. But I am privy to things that, if asked the right question, I could change the course of some proceedings that are going on. But the questions have never been asked of me. The requests have never been asked of me. I know a lot of shit about a lot of people on both sides. And if commanded, I got no problem giving it up. But I'm not going to just freely give it up for anybody who doesn't have a good reason. It's kind of like a need to know thing. All right. I've done my time. I just want to make sure that the people who have screwed over good horsemen, honest horsemen, decent people who don't stand a chance in harness racing up against what we all know exists and is still happening. You saw I put out not long ago a 3-month prescription renewal list from Dr. Louis Grasso to a horse, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of EPO renewals. The pet's name that they were using at the pharmacy was Try My Socks, and a list of different trainers who are going in and getting these renewals. These are just the things that people are aware of. Again, the FBI, mind-blowing what they were able to do. People saying that they stopped. Why didn't they finish? They've closed down pharmacies, manufacturers. This is all in the past couple of months. They haven't stopped. They've just gone a different direction. And what's it done? Where's the deterrent? There ain't none. I keep reading about people crying about, oh, there's a guy out in Scioto that won 4 races on the same card. Every horse went in 47 and change. Okay, what are you going to do about it? You going to do anything about it? Do you have any information that might lead them to that he's done something nefarious other than cry? Because you don't even do that. Not one horseman has stepped up openly to fight back with good reason. So in January, I will be running my happy ass down to New York City again to hopefully have an actual, I don't know, paralegal or office clerk receive everything I'm going to turn over. And like I said, Howard, if you're innocent, best of luck to you. Jeff, if you did something wrong, you did something wrong. From the outside looking in, and what do we all know? If a racetrack owner can't say no to someone who, on paper, has purchased these drugs, which, in his own admission, Again, where's that line? And they've blurred the difference between purchased it and paid for it. Purchased it meaning I was aware of what it is and what it's used for, and it be used in my horses. Paid for is I just got sent the bills for a decade, never looked at these invoices to see what I'm paying for. It's just so far-fetched. Maybe we're wrong. That's what court's for. That's what commission hearings are for. And that's what's happening now. So that's Howard. And then you got the other guy, DeVita. And the things that struck me the most about that was, again, I would like to repeat that if anybody has any of you guys that are now being questioned due to what I've put out there, please call Steve Jones, because that's where this all started. And I think it's hilarious that something that minute, this trespass order, has led to all this. So now the other day, I got a call. Check DeVita's fines and suspensions as major rulings on Pathway. I'm like, something happened? Like, for real? You got to see this. I go, and it just said, originally it was in his bio, or his profile, and personal information. It was in the middle of it. And it says, not in good standing as per whatever ruling. And it wasn't down in the suspensions. Like somebody just threw it in there, wasn't paying attention when they updated the website. And then it disappeared. And I'm like, and I had screenshot it. I put it out. People saw it. And then it disappeared. And I said, now keep an eye. Here we go again. And then overnight, it suddenly showed up in his list of rulings. And it only said USTA action, membership action. And then you click the date, and then it opened up the ruling. And I'm like, wow. And it's very specific. USTA and SRIF working in conjunction. And that there was an investigation, and he refused to cooperate. It doesn't say what the investigation was about. I'm sure we could assume, 52 bottles of BB3 on the who got list ain't a good look. But dig deeper again. Who's Nick? He's got a big barn of horses now, and he's winning a lot of races. We all see the performance of the horses. Has it been exaggerated by any other, let's say again, nefarious reasons? Where is he stabled? Who works with him? Well, it turns out that there's a person in the barn who has been banned from competing in this country. I guess Canada too, because reciprocal to USTA action would be AGCO and Standard Canada, and down under where he comes from, thrown out of his own country, winds up here, and now the trainer of record, who is being questioned now and has lost, well, he's on appeal now. Nick was questioned and regarding whatever refused to cooperate. So with their new rules and bylaws and how this this investigative unit is working, you're out. If this is the way it's got to be done, this is the way it's got to be done. The states haven't done it. The same information is out there. Why haven't the commissions done it? Why haven't some commissions done it? Why haven't other commissions done it? Why haven't some commissions not done it? And other you know what I mean? It's a joke. Delaware made a move. Kentucky made a move based on information that we've seen put out there by Indiana, reciprocal to Delaware, who really are not reciprocal now. and should be, because they Delaware granted Mr. Taylor an appeal and a stay, but he is still denied a license pending hearing and review and unable to compete, which is doesn't have a license, still denied a license. However, Indiana did a 180 and said, well, pending the review, he's back in good standing in Indiana. It's just mind blowing how they come up with this shit. And I keep saying, and this happened again last night. I get calls from people, Facebook messages, all the same thing. Pictures of horses with issues, infections, abuse. This happened at this place. I found, I've had people say there's needles and syringes. I said, well, that's not good enough. In the garbage, do you have who it is? Can you trace it back? Do you have vials? People are actually out there, and then they stop short of giving the hard evidence because they're afraid that they're going to be found out. And they certainly are not giving me permission, because I always ask, even though unless they say they want to be, they're open to me using their name. They all want to remain anonymous. And we obviously now I do understand why, but that's why nothing gets done. And unless everybody as a group fights back, you don't stand a chance individually. I'm proof of that. And I don't know what to tell people anymore, because I want to help them. The thing that happened out in Ohio with the family of 3 people, nobody really knows what the real reason. It was, again, failure to cooperate in an investigation. There's questions of ownership, and there's previous business dealings with certain individuals who are no longer in the game. There's more to it than meets the eye. I find it very hard to believe that the USTA, of all friggin' organizations, is going to make a move without having all the proof now. They do not want lawsuits. And that's why, one prop to Russell Williams creating this new investigative, I guess you would call it office. It's only 2 people. But they put up a shield between USTA and the people in the game to do the dirty work, have the attorneys look it over before they drop the bomb. And I got more stuff sent to me on that last night that I put out as backup to what they've said. And you see the things that have been done, and it's just like, do people think before they do? Do they not understand that maybe there are people watching and documenting, and you constantly drawing attention to yourself by the way you race horses, conducting yourself on the racetrack? You just begging for it. And then when it finally happens, this is bullshit. We had nothing to do with it. I mean, I don't know what this, and that's that false sense of security, because for so long, nothing's ever been done. And now it's finally happened. Are there more coming? Yep, there are. And they're going to surprise the shellac out of people. I never expected them to actually move on Nick DeVito. And now they're saying, oh, that's because he's just a beard. He's just a beard. They'll just move on. They'll just get another guy. So what you're saying is, if they're going to get another guy to front for the guy that shouldn't be competing and is here, kicked out of his own country, you're going to let it happen, and you're going to keep race against them because you're a bunch of cowards. I mean, where does it stop? It's not going to stop unless somebody makes it stop. And you're cool with settling for picking up a check, and instead of having a chance to hit the board and win races, you'll put up with it. And the haters are trying everything they can to blow it back to me. Man, are you missing the mark? I'm not the problem. I've been effective enough now to force on the commissions to have to look and have to acknowledge it, including the USTA, which I never thought would be a first move on anybody. And they've done it to four people in the last, since Friday, four individuals. And they're not done. And I would love to be able to say, I was wrong. The USTA is doing the job. And again, what's the separation between the registry and policing? That's why they created the SRAF. And so far, this is a nice little hit. Keep doing it. It's all there. As for, and now, it's turned into, with the backing of my good friends, one in particular, this thing. And I'm not going to go into details because it's nobody's business. But I've been able to take what I've learned, and the people that are watching and appreciate how hard I will fight for horses, particularly standard breds. I have actually been retained by 3 different clients to handle their issues. What are they? Financial, um, contractual, because it turns out I'm pretty damn good at it. I went to Jersey last week and I closed my biggest arbitration yet. And this weekend was a good weekend. Can this continue? Is there enough out? I mean, there is, and I've had to reach out into different disciplines of the equine world. Like I said, I want to get it to the point where I have nothing to do with harness racing anymore. Like I said, I've done my time. I've found my peace with everything I've done. I couldn't care less if I ever walk onto another racetrack, meaning in a barn area, paddock, on the track. I'm more than happy with going to the Meadowlands, watching some races when I feel like it. I don't even have that. It doesn't draw me anymore because I can't really go and enjoy watching races and horses score down because the thing I'm looking for, this one's lame. What's it? I mean, I took the fun out of it for myself. But do I care about the animals? More than anybody could actually understand. And the best that, again, the detractors can do is try to bring in my family. And I'm like, and that just proves to me just how much of an effect this has had. It's in their heads now because if they're guilty or a lot, let's say the other documents that I haven't talked about yet, anyone that's aware of their name is attached to what happened in the Fishman and Equistology investigation, where they are guilty of purchasing the bad stuff. Yeah, you're on the radar. You've never been off the radar. It just turns out they've had to change how it's operating because the federal government misjudged just how disgusting the industry is. And the same goes for thoroughbreds, but it's way worse than harness racing. That, and it's been said, Sarah Mortazavi said it in her closing, that this business that self-governs, it can't. And the proof is in just how much sludge they found in the game. It cannot police itself because you've got the crooks or the cops. To the point now that even the commissions are dragging their feet. Why? They have so much of a stranglehold and control over even the commissions. Look at New York State, how long it takes to get them to move on certain things. They move faster on some little guy, and they're there, literally physically there, to close out a, a an investigation or pending investigation than they are these guys who have been racing with everything that you see that I brought to the public. And they're the same organization that's handing out gaming licenses in the state of New York. Same organization, different subdivisions, but it's the same people. Why did Yonkers pull their application for a casino? it's not as it's not what everybody thinks. We've talked about that. And the bottom line is, if you don't believe it, where's your casino? Slowly but surely, it's imploding on itself. The $60 million a year in welfare isn't going to last forever at Yonkers Raceway. The rest of the states, it's not going to last forever. Every time they've realized that you give them these people in control of this welfare, because that's what it is. When your industry loses money every night and cannot survive without X amount of dollars being injected, end around some other way that is not actually earned or generated through the industry that's offering the product, which in this case is harness racing, where people will watch and wager and you profit from that. Okay. No matter how you try to justify it, creates jobs. Well, again, there's plenty of other industries, other corporations. Sears, there's one. They shut down a plant because they're not selling enough cars at Ford. That's what happens. The federal government did bail them out once, too big to fail, but and that with the banks and the big three, but still, not forever. Agriculture stimulates local economies. What local economy? Oh well, hey, and it's literally making excuses for this, but people are starting to open their eyes, and it's not so much the commissions or the states, it's the public. You see what's happening in New York City now. Things you talk about socialism. Harness racing is the definition of socialism. Free everything, and everybody goes around, congratulating each other. They don't have any. You can't shame them as long as the money keeps going. And that's what I was saying today about the culture of harness racing, that when you go into a barn area, you go into a stable area, racetrack, whatever, paddock, everything's different. The people are different. You see it all the time, constant complaining that no matter how good they got it, it's never good enough. No matter how much money is given to them, it's never enough. And then they're willing to let criminals take that money from them, which doesn't make any sense to me. So that's the way I'm going to leave this, because you could ramble all night about this. I did say that to people, and it's never going to happen. People are watching. Nobody types any comments or any questions. I was going to open up the phone to people calling in, but that's not going to happen either. I don't know. It's just going to get worse. And there's going to be more of these guys going down. Is it going to help you? I hope so. That's why I did it. But I am at the point where I do want to say, I don't want anything else to do with harness racing. I'm over it. If it's going to be fixed, it's going to be fixed. If it's not, it's not. There's a guy here that Billy says he appreciates basically what I'm doing, but he's trying to do it from the thoroughbred side. I've never even tested the thoroughbred side. I'd love to get involved with some people. I'm just not. First of all, I'm not. The game doesn't. It doesn't draw me in. It does nothing for me. I've never been a huge thoroughbred guy watching races, understanding the game. It's so different. I wouldn't want to start over. I would, I'd be more apt to help with is like a issues with, again, like a finish line kind of story. That's where I'm effective. As for the policing of the game and who the people are in the game, I don't know any of them. It's got to be similar, and their names are in the all the transcripts and the exhibits too. So I like what I've been doing for my first three clients, which is arbitration, counseling, understanding, and this is what understanding the horse business. The basics are all the same: a non-paying tenant, a non-paying owner, a contractual disagreement. You wouldn't, again, I didn't understand just how much money there really is out there, not just in the racing, just people in the horse business. And I've been able to take what I've learned and understand from both sides, and I've resolved some pretty substantial financial disagreements between um, two different entities. And I do it on commission. And that was where the other day I was just blown away. And it's the first time in a long time that I've said, okay, this is real. I have, and I'll admit this, I have suffered much by my own hand, bad decisions in this game. You know, I could easily look back and said, you know, maybe I should have just apologized for what I did at Goshen. And now knowing what I know, I am so friggin' thankful I didn't, because I just would have been another one and never realized it. Some actual good has come of all this. Number one, finish line. I still have his picture on my shelves, and that never would have seen the light of day had I not gotten the first call. And as for this other stuff, I can easily make the argument that maybe down the road, maybe it was somebody else. But the thing was, I found out after I started getting the phone calls and these new contacts that there wasn't anybody. There wasn't that one person who knew the game well enough, who was willing to risk themselves, because everybody in the game has something to lose, which could be everything. I had already lost it. And I know how honest I'm going to end this. I want to thank Steve Jones, Mark Ford, Ray Schnitker for everything you've done specifically to me in the past 3 years. Because without you, none of this would have been possible. Peace.